Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, bodybuilder, back with another video. Today I'm going to be giving you 10 weight loss tips. So you've put on a few pounds of extra fat that you want to get rid of this year. Whether your goal is just to stay healthy or to get shredded for a bodybuilding show, these weight loss tips are going to help you shed fat and maintain muscle. They will work for people of any experience level, and they're actionable tips that you can implement today. One of the biggest challenges people face when trying to lose weight is making things sustainable. It's easy for anyone to tell you to just eat less, but how do you actually implement that day to day and stick with it? If you've been getting value from my content, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, in no particular order, tip number 1 is to have a regular eating schedule. People often eat very irregularly, and one of the problems with that is that you hold out until you're so starved that you end up binging or choosing foods that are off plan that you normally wouldn't. If you eat at regular times, you're more able to stick to the plan. I typically recommend that people eat 4 to 6 meals per day, spaced about 3 to 5 hours apart. You basically want to space things out so that you're just starting to get hungry, but not that you're absolutely ravenous and ready to break your plan. Tip number 2 is to start off your meal with your low-calorie options, like vegetables, fruit, and water. The idea here is that your body responds to the actual fullness of your stomach. And by putting in your low-calorie density foods like vegetables and fruit first, you're more likely to distend your stomach early and start sending those satiety signals. Another side benefit of this is that at the beginning of your meal, when you're more hungry, you're more likely to actually enjoy your vegetables and fruits and eat more of them. Drinking a glass of water at the beginning of your meal can be an easy thing to try. If you hate drinking water, you can always add a 0-calorie water enhancer. Our third weight loss tip of today is to keep lifting as you were when bulking. One of the most common questions I get asked is, should my training change when I'm trying to lose fat? I like to think about training as the muscle building stimulus and calories as fuel and resources. And if you have more calories, that's great, you'll build more muscle, probably also put on some fat. But if you're in a calorie deficit, you still want to maintain that muscle building stimulus. This is doubly important now because you either want to continue to build muscle or at least retain the muscle that you have and just lose fat. People will ask whether they need to drop the amount of volume they're doing or the number of sets. For the most part, you don't need to, because you really want to keep that muscle building stimulus as high as possible. In certain scenarios, when people get really shredded, like less than 8 to 10% body fat for bodybuilding shows, they will need to drop their volume. But for the most part, if you're just trying to say get down to a 6-pack, this won't be an issue. People also ask whether they can switch to less fatiguing machine type exercises or use lighter weights with higher reps. You will see some bodybuilders doing this in the late stages of their contest preps, but again, this is just because they're so lean that they are forced to out of fatigue requirements. Our fat loss tip number 4 is to avoid liquid calories. The problem with liquid calories is that they're just easier to digest. Not only does your body expend less energy in breaking them down, it also won't last as long in your system, and thus won't keep you as full for the same number of calories. For example, if you imagine taking a bunch of fruit and putting it into a blender to make a smoothie, that blender is doing all the work grinding up that food that your body would otherwise have to do, and is doing it over a much shorter time frame. So for people trying to lose fat, I typically recommend that they avoid smoothies, fruit juices, and sports drinks. The other thing about these is that they often contain added sugar, which just won't keep you very full for the number of calories that it contains. I did mention that whey is included on this list. That is, if you are having protein shakes, it might be an idea to actually replace them with solid protein sources. A whey powder is a very processed form of protein that will be absorbed by your body very quickly. If you're in a big calorie deficit and you're really hungry all the time, it might make more sense to actually substitute it with something solid like chicken breast or beef. Moving on, our next fat loss tip for today is to prioritize sleep. Recovery is a key part of bodybuilding, and it becomes even more important when you're trying to lose fat. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body just doesn't have as many resources to go around. You'll need all the recovery you can get to make sure that you can continue to train hard and recover from that training so that you maintain or continue to build muscle. I recommend that you aim to have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, and think about the quality of that sleep as well. If you haven't already optimized sleep hygiene, look into that. The idea behind sleep hygiene is that you're trying to teach your body to actually fall asleep when your head hits the pillow. A few examples here would be not spending time awake in bed doing work or on your phone, cutting down on blue light before sleep using apps on your phone and your laptop, and having a set, relaxing pre-bed routine. Next up in our fat loss tips is to increase fiber intake. Fiber is very slow digesting, so it's an easy way to help yourself stay full. Easiest ways to do this would be to increase your vegetable intake and seek out whole grain sources of carbs that contain a lot of fiber. One sneaky tip is to actually add fiber into your food through psyllium. This is something we actually give to patients for constipation, but it is just straight fiber. So you can add it to your meals to help you stay more full. Try mixing it into something where it won't affect the texture and flavor too much, like oats. Next fat loss tip of the day is to bake, boil, or steam food. In other words, you want to be choosing methods of cooking where you're not adding extra calories in the form of sugar or oil. Fried and deep fried foods often contain extra calories from the oil or butter that they're cooked with. So I'd recommend getting into the habit of cooking things in a way where you don't need to add these extra calories. Out of these, baking and roasting is my favorite because you can do things on a mass scale. If you're not already in the habit of cooking your own food, you should. When you buy food or eat out, you don't control what actually goes into it. And you can often end up taking in a lot of extra calories from added sugars and fats that you don't realize. Our 8th weight loss tip today is to try cycling caffeine. This is a really high level strategy that I think is underrated, but the idea is that caffeine can help suppress appetite and help with your energy levels and training performance. I think the energy aspect is the most important one here. One of the big reasons why people don't commit to fat loss diets is that they're afraid of that hunger and fatigue that goes with it. Caffeine can help to keep your energy up and allow you to perform well in the gym. As we said before, keeping up your training performance is crucial for maintaining or continuing to build muscle. Now, the trick about caffeine is that your body becomes tolerant to it. That is, if you've had 1 cup of coffee a day your whole life, you're going to be so used to that 1 cup of coffee's worth of caffeine that this becomes your new baseline, and you won't get any benefit from just having that 1 cup of coffee. What I recommend people do is that they stay off caffeine when it's not needed. This way your body becomes sensitive to the caffeine stimulus, so when you actually do have caffeine, you get a big kick out of it. I only use caffeine about once a week during my bulking phases when I actually need it, and during my fat loss phases. When you bring in caffeine during a fat loss phase, start low and you can gradually increase the dose as your body becomes tolerant. This way you'll be able to continue to reap the benefits of caffeine throughout your fat loss phase. I'd recommend starting with a really low dose of caffeine, like 25 or 50 milligrams, and slowly adding in small aliquots of say 25 to 50 milligrams. You can increase the dose when you stop getting effect or every few weeks. Then when your fat loss phase is over, I'd recommend cutting the caffeine. You may get withdrawal headaches when you take away the caffeine, but you can combat these with Tylenol and Advil. Our 9th tip for sustainable weight loss is to rewire your reward system. A lot of us tend to use food as our reward. And this is a problem because it means you're not using food to help you get to your fitness goals. You need to find other ways of rewarding yourself emotionally when you've been through a tough day or you want to celebrate. Instead of looking forward to eating something as a reward, try rewiring yourself to be rewarded by other healthier activities, such as listening to music, socializing, or some other healthy hobby like playing an instrument. Make going out to eat a social activity that you do with your friends and focus on seeing your friends as the actual reward aspect of that activity. I personally reward myself with music, so I have a few playlists of my favorite songs that I reserve for times when I've had a really tough day or I want to celebrate. The other thing I might do is pull up my guitar and sing. The idea is that you save these activities for those times, so your brain associates those other activities with feeling good. This way you're reprogramming yourself to be rewarded in the same way that you would be by eating food with something else. Our last fat loss tip of the day is to have low calorie snack options around. One of the biggest problems people run into is snacking. This can be a dangerous habit that leads to a lot of extra calories. One of the best solutions to this is to get rid of all of your high calorie snacks from your home and replace them with lower calorie options. Some examples might be replacing chips and crackers with popcorn and replacing candy and sweets with fruit or dried fruit. When you make the switch to more sustainable snack options and stick with it for a while, you'll eventually switch your taste palette to enjoy those foods more. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment below. I'm really good about answering every single one of my comments, so you'll definitely hear back from me. In particular, what things have helped you lose weight? Let me know in the comments below, and it'll be a great way for you guys to share ideas. If you want to hear more of my best weight loss tips, check out this playlist where I go through some simple strategies that you can implement right away to make weight loss more sustainable for you. If you're getting value from my channel, make sure you share it with your gym buddies so they can benefit from it too. See you next time.